difficult for him when he went in, because he was going in to a film set where the stars were already very well established.
Whereas the other actors on Harry Potter had either had great training or experience because they'd been in it for several films, this was like Robert's first film and he didn't have any training whatsoever. So he was actually really nervous, which came across probably as quite arrogant and quite introverted to the other people on set, because he would be there really kind of intently focused on his lines and just learning what he had to do, that he wouldn't be interacting with the other actors, which was probably quite annoying for, you know, the director and everybody else.
He clearly recognises that he doesn't have this great experience, basically. When he went on to Harry Potter, he was coming into an experienced bunch of older and, you know, younger actors.
To cover his shyness, on set, Arpats made believe he was an unknown South African actor. He was quiet but smoldered in the corner while the more famous actors enjoyed the limelight.
It's not possibly what you might imagine that he would be on set. Someone who'd be like, I'm a star, I'm going to be a star, and I don't care, and I'll show you how to do it, sort of thing. I think he's reasonably self-conscious.
The Harry Potter experience was amazing. A gigantic movie juggernaut with its own obsessive fan base. Rob admitted that he hadn't even read the books. The script called for an actor used to performing action sequences and their own stunts. Robert might have been a little out of his depth when underwater scenes had him scuba diving.
But nobody really associates Rob at all with Harry Potter, apart from die-hard fans. When you say, oh, he was in Harry Potter, really? And they have to think about it. So he didn't really make his mark there. And according to people who worked on the film, he didn't really make his mark on the film. Nobody seems to remember much about him, what he did, what he said. So, you know, then again, it seems odd that he's emerged as this superstar.
When you see him in Harry Potter, he is just a public school boy. He's just a kid. And it's very difficult for anyone to look sufficiently different at that age.
At Harry Potter, obviously, Daniel Radcliffe is the star, and you've got Rupert Grint and all the big British actors, you know, are there, and he's just not even, do you want to interview Robert Pattinson? You're like, no, you're right, because you got Daniel and you got, you know, the main stars, and he's just kind of number 15 on the cast list.
We were offered an interview with him, and I did this interview with him really because I was told I had to do it. You know, he was the guy who's been in Harry Potter, and they'd asked me to do it, and I did the interview, but during the entire interview I referred to him as Robert Pattinson. He didn't say anything. If I called you by a different name for the entire interview, surely at some point you would have stopped me and said, that's not my name. A few months later, we were offered another interview, and I actually turned it down. I'm thinking, I don't want to interview another good-looking, semi-famous, foppish English actor. So I said no.
Fast forward 3 years, and he's as big as Daniel Radcliffe.
He's the biggest teen star on the planet. I didn't realise at the time he was going to be a star, and in my kind of ignorance, I just kind of assumed he was just another one of these wannabe teen actors.
It's crazy, and I imagine Daniel Radcliffe probably, you know, he was literally the king, but he's now had to make room for a new king, which is Robert Pattinson. I mean, I bet he can't believe it, and I couldn't believe it watching the girls, because they just didn't care. It was all about Daniel Radcliffe. And now, if you walked Daniel Radcliffe and Robert Pattinson down a red carpet, they'd scream Rob. They wouldn't scream Dan, 100%.
He looked, in some ways, kind of a different species. You know, he's doing his Triwizard nonsense, and then he's a bit wet, but he's shrugging it off in a manly way, and there's Harry Potter like a wet vole. And you just think, this is a, you know, quite impressive guy. And I think, you know, from then on, he picked up a sort of growing fan base. The fan base that I think, I don't want to be too rude, but Daniel Radcliffe thought he might grow to have. In that really kind of rabid, twittery, I love you sort of way that, you know, Robert's fans are. Trouble. But you know what I mean? Intensely interested in this person as an actor.
Rob himself has always given these interviews saying, oh God, if I were a girl, I would have gone for Daniel, not me, which is absolutely the right thing for him to say, obviously. But, you know, he did begin to attract a little bit of attention.
Well, I first met Robert years ago, and I think this must be sort of before Harry Potter, and to be honest with you, if he'd burst into flames in the corner of the room, I wouldn't have even noticed him. It was only that my wife went, oh, he's kind of a good-looking lad, and pointed him out, that I think we started talking about this chap in the corner of the room.
In Harry Potter, didn't give him a second glance. I just remember him as being the first character to die in the Harry Potter film.